This is a movie that is praised by a lot of people for a lot of different reasons. It is accolades and accolades that we will get into in this video. I once watched a video of people ranking Disney movies on a tier list, and this was their top movie. And I personally believe it is probably in the top 10 for most people if you ask them their top 10 Disney movies. What makes The Lion King special on the Disney canon? Not only just to Disney, but in our hearts. Hello, my name is Em, and I am currently on a journey where I am watching every single Disney animated movie in chronological release order and ranking them on a tier list with my husband. But before that, I like to provide a little history and historical context. So, The Lion King was released on June 24th, 1994. The film is loosely based on William Shakespeare's Hamlet, and you'll get into that because I did watch Hamlet to prepare for this. So I probably should read Hamlet again, but we'll get into that. We make some comparisons. The film stars Matthew Broderick as Simba, with Joseph Williams providing the singing voice, Jonathan Taylor Thomas as young Simba, with Jason Weaver providing his singing voice, Jamie Irons as Scar, James Earl Jones as Mufasa, Moira Kelly as Nala, with Sally Dworsky providing her singing voice, Nikita Kalame as young Nala, with Laura Williams providing her singing voice, Nathan Lane as Timon, Ernie Sabella as Pumbaa, Robert Gualume as Rafiki, Rowan Atkinson as Zazu, Madge Sinclair in her final film role as Sarabi, Whoopi Goldberg as Shenzi, Cheech Marin, who had voiced Tito and Oliver and Company, as Banzai, and Jim Cummings, who had voiced Razul in Aladdin and The Return of Jafar, as Ed. So the start of our story actually isn't as cut and dry as it normally is. Normally it's, this is the concept, this is how it pitched, this is how it, whatever. But we actually have two stories of how this idea got pitched. One account says that Charlie Fink, the vice president for creative affairs at Disney at the time, approached Paul Schneider, who was the president of the animation department at the time, and Roy E. Disney, the chairman of animation at the time, and Jeffrey Katzenberg, the chairman of the entire Disney company at the time, about creating Bambi but in Africa with lions. According to him, Katzenberg was frustratingly hesitant at the idea, as Katzenberg is. Listen, if I were to ever create merch, I would love to create a Jeffrey Katzenberg Hate Club shirt. Not that I'm a hateful person. I don't know. There's something about Jeffrey Katzenberg that just rubs me the wrong way. And I don't really get frustrated with people, but the way that Jeffrey Katzenberg is, I'm like, there's something about you, your energy. I don't like it. So he catches a lot of strays on my channel. But despite this, Jeffrey Katzenberg was like, let him cook. He was specifically hung up on the food chain and how lions eat other animals. Another account says that the idea is from a flight that the core three, which I'm talking Paul Schneider, Roy E. Disney, and Jeffrey Katzenberg, took on a promotional tour. They discussed Africa, and Jeffrey Katzenberg decided to add elements of his life to the story, coming of age, death, and even going as far to say, quote, "It is a little bit about myself." Okay, Jeffrey Katzenberg, whatever you want to say. In October of 1988, the author of The Brave Little Toaster, Thomas Disch, met with Roy E. Disney and Charlie Fink to discuss the concept of, no matter what it is, I guess, Africa and lions and Bambi, whatever. By the end of November, Dish's treatment had been written, and he called it The King of Kalahari. Throughout the next year, several Disney writers took a crack at expanding his treatment. In Jenny Tripp's treatment in March of 1989, she named the famous lion cub Simba. In her treatment, Simba would be somehow separated from his pride and adopted by a baboon named Kawashi and a mongoose named Mabu. This will sound familiar because Disney loves to reuse things. He was then raised with the baboons. Anyway, does this sound familiar? He then would fight a jackal named Ndogo and then finally find his pride again at the end of the film. So that was Jenny Tripp's treatment of King of Kalahari. J.T. Allen was then hired to help with some story treatments as well. He, along with Charlie Fink, went to the Los Angeles Zoo to watch animals and incorporate any details into their script. The script was called The Lion King, finished in January of 1990. However, the core three, we talked about the core three, as well as Charlie Fink and J.T. Allen, decided that the script needed a more experienced writer to balance it out. Ronald Bass, who had just won an Oscar, was asked to, but he was busy, but said that he could be a supervisor. The next script, called King of Beasts, was completed in May of 1990. Linda Wolferton, who had just written Beauty and the Beast, was also writing drafts of the script. Hers was also called King of Beasts, later being retitled to King of the Jungle. So I actually have no idea whose script these concepts came from, but I'm going to talk about some original concepts. They could be from Linda Wolferton's, based on timeline-wise, but I'm not actually sure because there was kind of a lot of people who had their hands in this pie. The original concepts were Scar being the leader of the baboons instead of the hyenas, Rafiki being a cheetah instead of a baboon, and in fashion closer to Hamlet, Timon and Pumbaa being childhood friends of Simba. Simba would not have left the pride, but would become a horrible person. Lion? Due to the manipulation of Scar, which is another element similar to Hamlet, I fear. So Simba would be more overthrown than banished. And that's kind of what Claudius was trying to do in Hamlet. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. So normally I wouldn't share this, but it's funny. After completing The Rescuers Down Under, producer Thomas Schumacher decided to join the film because, quote, lions are cool. I just found that really funny. I don't normally share a lot of nitty-gritty details of, oh, this person worked on this and this person worked on that. Oh, and then this person came in. Oh, and this person came in. I don't normally share that. I think it gets lost in the sauce. But I found that was funny, especially because he doesn't end up working on the movie that much. But sure, lions are cool. In October of 1991, several lead crew members, including the directors, writers, you name it, went to Hell's Gate National Park in Kenya to study the area for the movie. One thing of note for this movie, people keep coming in and out like a subway train. And I said this earlier. I think I talked about this. So for brevity's sake, I will genuinely spare all the nitty-gritty of all these people coming and going and coming and going. If you want to know about who exactly was tied to this production at each time, go do more research yourself. I always encourage you to do more research, correct me, whatever. So feel free to do that. With me personally, I feel like I've already gotten a little bit too nitty-gritty with how many people were writing a script and script changes and stuff, because I normally don't get into the nitty-gritty of script writers, but genuinely, so many people had their hands in this project, and it's like a subway train at rush hour, guys. People keep coming in and out and in and out and in and out of The Lion King. So when Don Hahn, who had worked as a producer for Beauty and the Beast, joined the project, Don Hahn had done a lot at Disney at this point. I think he had like a 12-year career at Disney at this point. He's very big. If you know Disney and the Disney Renaissance, you know Don Hahn. He felt the script was unfocused and lacked an overall theme. It was him who established the theme as leaving childhood and facing the realities of the world, which is a direct quote, I believe, from him. This caused the story to be rewritten over 2 weeks with basically the lead crew members as well as directors Kurt Wise and Gary Trousdale, who had just finished working on Beauty and the Beast, coming into this project. And they come in and they're like, we got to rewrite this whole thing. Several core ideas came from this movie. Mufasa coming back as a ghost, Rafiki being changed from an advisor to a shaman. This is also when the title was changed from King of the Jungle to The Lion King. Again, I don't ask. There's too many details in this development at times. Changing the setting from the jungle to the savannah. This is also when Scar and Mufasa were changed to be brothers. And again, yes, we will get to the Hamlet stuff. When the revised script was pitched to Jeffrey Katzenberg and CEO Michael Eisner wanted the story to, quote, be more Shakespearean. The suggestion was King Lear, but Maureen Donnelly, who was an associate producer for the film, piped up and was like, actually, this is just Hamlet. This is basically Hamlet. And Jeffrey Katzenberg told them to put in as much Hamlet as possible. But the kind of head writers, all the people who were really in charge of the deciding stuff, producers, directors, writers, felt that Hamlet might be a little too forced. And honestly, I don't think that Hamlet is too forced. I think that it's not family friendly. I hate to say it, not in the way that Disney's family friendly. Like, I would be fine taking an older kid to go see Hamlet, depending on the production. Hamlet can get a lot, and I think adapting Hamlet for a children's movie, or a family movie rather, would get a little bit dicey because Shakespeare doesn't try to make it family friendly. I don't think at this point Disney is dabbling in tragedies, and Hamlet is very much a Shakespearean tragedy. So I'm kind of glad they went the route that they did. Like, I think they were like, yeah, it's Hamlet, and I like what we've done so far. And I think they hammed up a little, no pun intended, hammed up a little more stuff than what they've already got. But I don't think that they necessarily were like, yeah, let's not do that ending. And I agree, let's not do that ending. And they instead looked to Joseph and Moses, those stories from the Bible, for kind of, I can see that being the ending and just some inspiration on the characters. And personally, I can see that and I like that. You'll hear a little bit more about that in my thoughts. Not including the anthology films and The Rescuers Down Under, The Lion King is the second animated film with an original story after the Aristocats. Technically, both are loosely based on other works, but let's not talk about that. I guess in the end, they're both original stories. I don't know. Despite being based on Hamlet, the story has been compared closer to Henry IV Part 1 and 2. During this time, Linda Wolferton had to leave for work on Beauty and the Beast on Broadway. Love the Beauty and the Beast musical. Shout out to that. And in the summer of 1992, Irene Mecchi was hired, Mecchi was hired, and later in the year, Jonathan Roberts was hired to write the final script with her. Tim Rice actually worked closely as a lyricist for the production, with him flying out to Disney at least once a month. At this point, Disney prioritized narrative continuity in their songs. His lyrics were apparently reworked until the end of the production. Actually, rewrites in general were very common for The Lion King, leading to animators having to reanimate to accommodate all of the changes. Because of all these rewrites, the film missed the original Thanksgiving 1993 release that was planned. With that slot being given to The Nightmare Before Christmas instead. James Earl Jones was cast as Mufasa because directors found his voice to be powerful like a lion's. Jess Harnell, who is best known for voicing Wacko in Animaniacs, and Jim Cummings were originally cast to voice Timon and Pumbaa, even recording the demo for Hakuna Matata. Nathan Lane actually auditioned for Zazu, and Ernie Sabella auditioned for one of the hyenas. They were actually asked to record an audition as the hyenas, and they loved their chemistry so much they got cast as Timon and Pumbaa instead. At the time, they were in Guys and Dolls together on Broadway. I believe Ernie Sabella was playing Nicely Johnson, which is weird because we've had multiple people who have played Nicely Johnson voice in Disney productions now. I think this is like the second or third. Somebody can correct me on that. But I feel like I read that a voice actor before had originated Nicely Johnson on Broadway. And then Nathan Lane was playing Nathan in Guys and Dolls at the time. Cheech and Chong were supposed to voice the hyenas, but only Cheech Marin was available. Chong was replaced by Whoopi Goldberg, who apparently insisted on being in this film. Rowan Atkinson originally turned down the role of Zazu, stating that he is more of a physical actor and does not enjoy voice acting, but a friend encouraged him to take the part, and he has stated that he is grateful for his part in this film. Matthew Broderick was actually cast very early on in production. He also apparently only had one recording session with another actor. Don't know who it was because my research didn't tell me, meaning that he did not learn who most of his co-stars were until the premiere of the film. Tim Curry, Malcolm McDowell, Alan Rickman, Patrick Stewart, and Ian McKellen were all considered for the role of Scar. Jeremy Irons actually turned down the part at first, nervous about switching to comedy after his role in Reversal of Fortune. This actually inspired writers to add some of his acting from the film into the script. Andreas Deja, I love Andreas Deja, who is Scar's supervising animator, even watched the film along with his film Damage in order to incorporate some of his mannerisms. The film actually lined up perfectly with work on Pocahontas, which most animators decided to choose instead because there wasn't a lot of faith in The Lion King compared to Pocahontas, which is crazy because I feel like if I went on the street and I asked which is the one that you've watched last, I feel like more people would say Lion King. We'll get into Pocahontas. Trust me, there's a lot of thoughts on Pocahontas. Due to this, most of the supervising animators were being a supervising animator for the first time or had a fascination with the animation of animals. So this is a quote from Don Hahn, quote, "The Lion King was considered a little movie because we were going to take some risks. The pitch for the story was a lion cub gets framed for murder by his uncle set to the music of Elton John. People said, what? Good luck with that. But for some reason, the people who ended up on the movie were highly passionate about it and motivated." I really like that quote. I feel like it encapsulates the production of the movie. Almost 20 minutes of the movie, specifically the I Just Can't Wait to Be King song, was animated at the MGM Studios in Florida, which was Hollywood Studios now, but at the old animation studio. More than 600 artists, technicians, and animators contributed to The Lion King. Almost 6 months before The Lion King was released, an earthquake shut down the studio, causing the film to be worked on from home. Just like with the animated films of ye olden days, animals were brought to the studio to study by the animators. So specifically what I mean by the olden days is like Dumbo and Bambi and stuff like that. They would bring in animals. I think they even brought some animals for Lady and the Tramp and 101 Dalmatians. Yes, I remember that. Long time ago. Several documentaries were also studied, and inspiration was taken from films such as Lawrence of Arabia. 5 animators worked for more than 2 years specifically on the stampede scene alone, using a mix of CGI and the computer animation system that they did, called CAPS. Tim Rice, who was asked to be the lyricist for the film after Aladdin, agreed as long as he got to choose the composer he worked with. Alan Menken was busy. My guess was probably on Beauty and the Beast on Broadway. So he chose Elton John, after ABBA was unavailable as well. Elton John expressed wanting to make songs that both adults and kids could enjoy, citing The Jungle Book as an inspiration. DVD and IMAX versions of the film added the cut song Morning Report, which would make its way into the musical. Unlike Human Again, this song had not been recorded or animated at all prior to being cut. That's what I remember. Is I had the DVD version growing up, so it would always have Morning Report on it. It didn't hit as much as Human Again to me. Maybe I'm crazy. It doesn't hit as much as Human Again. But that's it. That's all I'll say. Morning Report doesn't hit as much as Human Again does. Hans Zimmer composed the score, stating that his score took inspiration from A World Apart and The Power of One, with added traditional African musical elements and the choir arranged by Lebo M. Hans Zimmer originally did not want to do the project due to not wanting to work on musicals, but was persuaded by the fact he could watch it with his daughter. He also used the fact that he lost his father as a child as inspiration for the score. To advertise The Lion King, they opted for the first trailer to simply be the Circle of Life sequence, as they felt it adequately introduced the film. The trailer was released in November of 1993, when the film was originally supposed to be released, which is some sort of poetic irony, to much enthusiasm. Only a third of the movie had been completed at that point, so some of the production team were nervous the film would not live up to the hype. The Lion King began its release limitedly on June 15th, 1994 at Disney's theater, El Capitan Theater in Los Angeles, and Radio City Music Hall in New York City. It was then widely released on June 24th. Disney made a special Zulu version of this film, specifically sending a team to cast the Zulu voice actors. This is the first Zulu dubbing by Disney, also being the first Disney dubbing in an African language other than Arabic. In fact, there's also a Maori dub made in 2021 after the success of the Maori dub of Moana in 2017. During the first 2 days of its limited release alone, The Lion King grossed $1.4 million when adjusted for inflation, and grossed $8.5 million when adjusted for inflation in the first 10 days between the two theaters. After the wide release, the film made $92.1 million opening weekend when adjusted for inflation, making it the third highest opening weekend ever at the time, behind Jurassic Park and Batman Returns. This was also the highest gross for a Disney opening weekend at the time. This isn't adjusting for inflation. Of course, it was the highest grossing movie of that weekend. It was the number one movie for 2 weeks, eventually being taken by Forrest Gump. Disney then pulled The Lion King from theaters in September, promising it would be re-released during Thanksgiving. Weird, but fine. I mean, you could have just left it running instead of taking it away for like 2 months. In its first release, it grossed $601.6 million when adjusted for inflation. After the second release concluded in March of 1995, The Lion King had grossed a total of $685.6 million, making it the highest gross of 1994, but was quickly surpassed by Forrest Gump. This is all domestically, by the way. Worldwide, The Lion King grossed $1.6 billion when adjusted for inflation. This is basically only the first release. I don't want to count the 2 months it wasn't in theaters. 2.5 months it wasn't in theaters. This is like the full year of Lion King. That's crazy. Like, I don't think we've had it. Maybe Snow White is the one that has come closest when adjusted for inflation. Like, this is insane. Lion King is the 5th highest grossing film of the 1990s. Combining all the re-releases I could find, the inflated gross is almost $2 billion. Critics praised The Lion King for the beautiful animation, story, and the voice cast. It was criticized, however, with some claiming the story was too adult for kids, but too strange for adults. Another stated that the songs were not as good as the ones by Alan Menken and Howard Ashman, which I cut that down to personal taste. I also prefer a Howard Ashman and Alan Menken score, but that's just me. I don't think that The Lion King is wrong. I think it's fun. I think it does what it needs to. I definitely don't listen to the score. I listen to the musical a lot. Oh my gosh, they cooked with the musical. But I don't listen to the score of the movie as much as I think I listen to the score of the other movies, like the Menken and Ashman ones. It's personal taste. The soundtrack was released in April of 1994, before the movie was even released, and I think this is probably due to the pushback of the release date. It ended up being the 4th best-selling album of the year and the top-selling soundtrack. This is the only soundtrack of an animated movie to go certified platinum. The marketing was huge, obviously, with merchandise and tie-ins with Burger King, Mattel, Kodak, Nestle, and Payless. Oh, rest in peace, Payless. To name a few. Overall, there were 186 licensed products. Disney earned about $1 billion at the time in merchandise alone. This is on top of the movie ticket sales and all that stuff, which the $1.6 billion when adjusted for inflation of money from the box office. The Lion King was nominated for 4 Academy Awards: Best Original Score, Best Original Song for Can You Feel the Love Tonight, Circle of Life, and Hakuna Matata. Got 3 nominations again. So rest in peace to anybody else who wrote good songs that year for a film. It won Best Original Score. Obviously, the Hans Zimmer score is gorgeous in this movie. And Best Original Song for Can You Feel the Love Tonight. As much as I love Can You Feel the Love Tonight, I feel like Circle of Life should have won it. Anyway, that's not what I want to say. Okay. Lebo M, which I really hope that I'm pronouncing his name right. Lebo? Whatever. Lebo M, which sounds like I'm saying La Boheme, who had a lot of involvement with the choir and vocal side of The Lion King, released a pseudo-sequel album called Rhythm of the Pridelands in 1995. Hans Zimmer also worked on this album with him. Some of the songs actually ended up into the musical, which I love them. One of them is He Lives in You. And I love that song. Oh my goodness. I adore that song in so many different ways. The brief use of The Lion Sleeps Tonight sparked a lawsuit with the family of Solomon and Linda, who originally wrote the song in 1939. The 2004 lawsuit sought for $2.8 million in royalties when adjusted for inflation. Ultimately, a settlement was made with the music company that owned the rights and gave them to Disney. I find that crazy. They're like, hey, Disney, you didn't use it without permission. And then the music company's like, but we have the rights. And we gave them the rights. Oh, messy. Anyway. In 2008, it was voted the 4th best animated film in the American Film Institute's top 10 animated films. In 2016, The Lion King was inducted by the United States Film Registry to be preserved in the Library of Congress. Our first continuation of the story begins with the TV show The Lion Kings. This is the show's title, okay? The Lion Kings Timon and Pumbaa. It's not just Timon and Pumbaa, which I think most people would probably call it just Timon and Pumbaa. If I was talking to my friend after school and I said, did you see Timon and Pumbaa? I would not say, did you watch The Lion King's Timon and Pumbaa? last night. Crazy title, but that's okay. And this show aired from 1995 to 1999. There are 2 direct-to-video sequels. Hold on to your hats, because we'll get into them. The Lion King 2, Simba's Pride, in 1998, and The Lion King 1.5 in 2004. Fun fact about me, I did not own The Lion King 2, Simba's Pride, but I did own Lion King 1.5. Crazy, I know. The Lion Guard was also a continuation series that aired from 2016 to 2019. I also saw that it garnered its own movie. I think it might have been kind of it was either a movie at the end or the beginning to start the series or end the series. I can't remember. I don't care enough about Lion Guard. I'm sorry. The film garnered a live action, if that's what you can call it, remake in 2019 with a prequel, Mufasa, being released in 2024. I have seen neither of these. Do I wish to see them? No. I'm quite fine with my non-realistic animated lions, please and thank you. As much as I love Lin-Manuel Miranda's music, I don't want to watch Mufasa that much just for his music. Sorry. In 1997, we got the fantastic, I could gush about this Broadway adaptation so much. The Broadway musical adaptation. And this musical is still one of the longest running, if not the longest running. I think it's basically one of the highest grossing on Broadway as well. And I believe it is the longest running Disney musical. It is not the first, but it is the longest running. And now we get into the theme parks. The Legend of the Lion King ran at Magic Kingdom at Disney World from 1994 to 2002, and the Festival of the Lion King opened in 1998 and is still running at Animal Kingdom. This attraction also exists in Hong Kong Disneyland and opened in 2005. I think I saw something that said it was at Paris at one point, or maybe The Legend of the Lion King ran at Paris. I don't think it's still there. Okay, so this is my one fun fact that I found worth it. The Lion King is the only Disney Renaissance film to not feature any humans, and the third Disney movie to do so, with the last movie being Robin Hood, which was, at this point, 20-ish years before this, so interesting stuff. Anyway, that's all I have for the history of The Lion King. So enjoy my husband and I's thoughts on the film.
So we just finished Lion King, and I want to say, because this is relevant, we will be talking about Hamlet, because to study up on this, we did watch Hamlet last week, because there is a local production going on. Actually, it was kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
We did just want to see Hamlet, but obviously Lion King does take inspiration.
It did correlate pretty nicely with the time that Lion King was going to roll around for us. So we were like, let's go see Hamlet. And then within about a week or so, we're going to watch Lion King.
Actually, I guess kind of a spot to start for those who have maybe seen one but not the other, which I don't know how you're watching this if you've only watched Hamlet side of it, but sure, let's pretend that those exist, and some of you are out there. It's very interesting. I would recommend watching both, mainly because they clearly, Lion King was clearly taking inspiration from Hamlet, but I kind of look at it more like Dante's Inferno and Over the Garden Wall, which I know is kind of a weird comparison that your fans probably won't get either.
I don't know. Maybe they will.
Maybe. But kind of similar, where Over the Garden Wall takes a lot of notes from Dante's Inferno, but they're obviously not one-to-one stories, and some events I would even say might even be out of order. At least in the case of Lion King and Hamlet.
Okay, let's talk about Lion King and Hamlet. Let's just break down Lion King and Hamlet real quick. So, we have Lion King. Lion King starts when Simba is born. Hamlet, okay, let's just go with this stipulation. We're going to go spoilers for Lion King and Hamlet right now, okay?
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit to get plot-wise.
Yeah.
Hamlet does not start until the death of his father.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe the script says it's been 3 months.
I think so. I think at least our version that we
Thought
saw.
it was 2 or 3 months that it
But
implied.
yeah,
that
a
it said.
noticeably short time.
A noticeably, for all of that to happen, for your father to pass away and your mother to marry your uncle, a very short period of time.
Especially even back then. Yeah, very noticeably short time.
Very short time. In fact, in Hamlet, they talk about how basically, I think there's a joke about how they use the funeral feast as the wedding feast.
Yeah.
I think Horatio makes
Yeah,
a
he
joke
makes
like
a
that
joke
or
or
something like
something.
that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so obviously, spoilers for Lion King. Lion King goes through Simba's life up before Mufasa's death.
Yeah.
So that's all omitted out of Hamlet. We jump into Hamlet and the death has already happened and the ghost is here. The ghost is a much more prominent figure in Hamlet than in Lion King. Not meaning that it's not, that Mufasa is not important and Ghost Mufasa is not important. Just meaning that Hamlet's father's ghost is more prominent and in more scenes.
I would also add this. The way that they treat the ghosts of the respective fathers is different. Mm-hmm. In The Lion King, it's kind of like pre-climax is when Mufasa's ghost appears and kind of like tells Simba to take on the responsibilities. While in Hamlet, it's more like the inciting event.
Yes.
Is his
yes.
dad's ghost.
The ghost is the inciting event. Because keep in mind, we get a lot more exposition in Lion King and a lot more told to us in Lion King, which I don't mind. It gives us more time to connect to Simba as a character. I think as much as Hamlet is kind of a hero's journey, I feel like Lion King is a better example of hero's journey. It's Hamlet, but with a little bit more hero's journey in it, if that makes sense.
Or at least more traditional heroes.
More traditional hero's journey. Also, Hamlet is long. Our production was 3 hours, but apparently, like, the written Hamlet, because I read Hamlet in high school, is 5 hours long. So, of course, I guess this movie is maybe like an hour 40, hour 45.
Like
it's
an hour 30-ish.
It's like an hour 30. It's an hour 30. So within an hour, if you have a 3 hour, if our production, which was 3 hours and basically had everything important in Hamlet, and you have half of that, you have to cut quite a bit out. One, mainly a lot of characters. There is no Laertes. There is no Polonius. I guess Zazu might be Polonius. We talked about it, and we kind of said that Nala is somehow Laertes, Horatio, and Ophelia.
Yeah. And like we said, that kind of goes back to what I said about, like, Over the Garden Wall. Like, it's okay if these aren't perfect representations. Rafiki really doesn't even have a comparison in Hamlet.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Like, you can kind of see what was the advisor's name again?
Polonius. Yeah.
Like, you could kind of see Polonius, but I feel like Zazu fits Polonius more. Yeah. So Rafiki just kind of, like, is his own thing and doesn't really have a comparison. And then kind of in the same, you know, some of the characters don't really have a comparison in Lion King.
But despite that fact, Timon and Pumbaa are Rosencrantz and Guildenstern.
Yeah, I like that
one. 1,000,000%.
Our production, I assume it was intentional, even just as an inside joke, but they had those two wear the same color scheme as Timon and Pumbaa.
Yeah, they kind of did. It was
like,
kind of funny.
I assume it was intentional, even though it was a very serious take of Hamlet. Like, it was, they took things very, very seriously. They weren't, like, trying to be all nudge, nudge, it's the Lion King. But I feel like that was probably intentional.
Oh, 1,000,000%. One main thing we talked about. Let's get back to the timeline of Hamlet and Lion King. This is just a little thing to just say, hey, if you were ever wondering, this is your side-by-side Hamlet and Lion King. Here's the thing. I think I watched a movie, and it was Mel Gibson, and at one point, he left to go back with Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, in the traditional stage production and written production that Shakespeare wrote, the timeline's a little messed up because Rosencrantz and Guildenstern actually come to him because they basically send a letter to Rosencrantz and Guildenstern and are like, hey, Hamlet's really not doing well. And I'm like, you wonder why? You wonder why Hamlet's not doing well? But I digress. And so they come and they visit, but Hamlet doesn't run away like with the Lion King, which that's okay. It's not a big deal. But just pointing out differences. And then I'm not going to spoil deaths. Obviously, Disney doesn't kill as many people as they do in Hamlet. As Shakespeare does in Hamlet. Because
that's not even close.
Lion King is not a tragedy. Hamlet is a tragedy. Connect the dots. Thank you. Anyway. There is a time when it's later in the play when Hamlet goes off with Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. And so you can kind of see it as that, but it's a little bit out of order. So then Hamlet returns home. But it's a lot of things there's a lot going on in Hamlet. There's so much going on. But also, the main difference, I feel like it might be a little bit implied, but maybe I'm crazy. Sarabi does not marry Scar.
Yeah.
That's a difference from Hamlet.
She does serve him, but that's
she does serve him. That's not the same thing. Because that can be, and that it kind of implies that she doesn't want to. Oh, the other thing. Scar says that Simba died. Yes, but also no. Okay. In the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern letter, Cornelius, I believe that is the uncle's name Cornelius.
I don't know.
I can't remember. Cornelius received, does it say that Hamlet's dead? It says that he got taken by pirates.
Yes. That Hamlet's dead?
I feel like there was something like that.
So?
Anyway.
Now that I'm thinking that way.
You could interpret that as kind of like the same thing as Scar saying that Simba's dead. Kind of the same thing. Whatever. Something that we actually talked about that we want to get into, now that I've kind of talked about some differences, if you want to talk about some differences in the comments, feel free. Something that we talked about is the two sides of the same coin of the story. When you have the same premise, but here you have two different stories. One is about honor. The other is about revenge.
Mm-hmm. That was another thing we pointed out is like the the interaction with the ghost is very, very different between both of them. In Lion King, it's like, oh, get your responsibilities in order. I'm still with you. Go and save the people. While in Hamlet, it's like, I need you to get revenge on my brother. Mm-hmm. And at least, I don't know if this is in the original one, but in our production, they really, really leaned into that. Of, like, the ghost being symbolic of seeking revenge.
Yes. they really, really leaned into the father being revenge and Hamlet seeking revenge. And I feel like quite a few productions do that. The way that they did it with ours was very, very interesting, and I liked that. However, I feel like this story is very interesting in the way that it was adapted, because in a way it's just a different way to tell the story, and I find it very interesting because Simba with Mufasa was empowered, and I think because of that's what they wanted to do at the end, is empower him to take Pride Rock back. I feel like in part they had to establish his relationship with Mufasa a lot better. Whereas with Hamlet, I mean, I don't think you need to set up his relationship with his father at all. Can I say that?
Yeah.
You jump right in and you're like, dang, Hamlet, your dad died 3 months ago? Your uncle married your mother? Understandable. So, yeah, I feel that Lion King, okay. Do you have anything else to say about Lion King and Hamlet? Because I kind of want to move on to Lion King itself.
Yeah, I was like, obviously we don't need to spend the whole time talking about Hamlet too, but no, not really much else I had to say about Hamlet already.
So, Lion King. What is there to say? This is like everybody, like I don't think I've ever heard a single person say, I don't like Lion King.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that.
I don't think I've met a single person on this earth. And honestly, this movie is so great. What I love more is the musical. I really like the music of the musical.
The music and the background are both really, really good.
And they used a lot of the score to create moments in the musical. Like, I was noticing in the score, I was like, oh, that's this song that they made, at this moment. They used the score and they adapted it to make this song for the musical. And I really like the musical. I specifically really love He Lives in You. I think that's one of my favorite songs ever. At such a pivotal moment, too. I wanted to say, the voice cast on this movie is so stellar from everyone. The other thing is, I really want to praise Rowan Atkinson for not making Zazu too unpalatable, because I feel like Zazu could get unpalatable at some moments if put in the wrong hands. Does that make sense?
I would have said that more for the hyenas. Is what I would have said.
I also agree about the hyenas, because
I think they did fine.
I think that I don't know who does Ed, but I know it's Cheech Marin and Whoopi Goldberg, and I know they're both fantastic. I mean, here's the thing: I didn't even get what's his name in Oliver and Company, Cheech Marin's character, the Chihuahua.
You've lost me. I don't know actors as well as you do.
The Chihuahua in Oliver and Company.
Yes, but that one.
I don't remember his name in Oliver and Company. But those are kind of characters that would quickly get me annoyed. But the way that Cheech Marin plays them, I don't think it annoys me.
I was also going to say Ed, in a different style of writing, Ed probably would have been a Gurgi.
I know, exactly. That's the thing. Yeah. Is I feel like they did it well enough where all of Timon and Pumbaa, the amount of times Timon and Pumbaa got quoted in my household growing up is so insane. I'm sure I'm not the only one who had Timon and Pumbaa heavily quoted in their households growing up. But I think they're really great comedic relief characters. I think Disney's nailing their comedic relief now in a way where it's not annoying, where it's funny, where it's great for families, great for parents too.
Yeah, where it's not annoying and the parents are like, okay, and the 14th time we're watching this is the last time.
And it's very tempted to me to be like, okay, we're watching the Disney Renaissance. I'm very tempted. This has gotten me thinking to never show my children the Black Cauldron while they're young enough. While they're young enough for us to have to put it on every single day. Because I don't think I could bear Gurgi every single day. I am part of the Gurgi Hate Club. Should I make merch? Does anybody else want her Gurgi Hate Club merch? Okay? I'm also willing to make Timon and Pumbaa fan club merch. Scar's an amazing villain. I think Scar's incredible. I just think all of the setting stuff in this movie. I think I heard the Dies Irae during the Stampede.
And just a whole load of bangers.
Hans Zimmer, banger.
Yep.
As a musician, like, we like to talk about our favorite scores. Someone will always mention a Hans Zimmer score, no matter what. It's just very iconic. We got to see Pirates in theaters earlier this year, and let me tell you, getting to hear Hans Zimmer's score in theaters was one of my favorite moments of getting to see Pirates in theaters again. I love a good Hans Zimmer score. I think I knew it was Hans Zimmer because of the musical. But yeah, the characters, the setting, you talked about how they kind of leveled up their background skills for this movie.
Yeah. Now, granted, I will say this might be because we are coming from Return of Jafar, which isn't exactly like the pinnacle example of animation. But I do feel like I did really like their background work. And part of that could also be that I kind of like the savannah as an environment, at least the way they depicted it. They did a really, really good job with it.
Oh, I do want to talk about my reaction to Circle of Life. Because keep in mind, our last one was Return of Jafar. So I literally, like, my reaction to the Circle of Life and the opening, I was like, oh my goodness. This is the prettiest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. I felt like a fish who had literally been out of water for like a year. Or like in a fish tank, and then when they suddenly get back to the ocean, they're like,
oh my goodness, where am I?
And so that's kind of how it felt, is like, oh my goodness, this is a glorious movie. And it's making me realize I am not excited for the rest of the direct-to-DVD sequels.
Now, I don't think Return of Jafar is that bad. But it's just like, especially in comparison to this, it kind of like, there's a noticeable difference in quality.
Oh, it's so noticeable. And keep in mind, these came out within like a month of each other too. So like, would you rather go buy Return of Jafar from the video store? Or would you rather go see Lion King? My answer is see Lion King for as many times as buying one Return of Jafar VHS would get ya.
Which, let's be real here, is 3. Unless you have like a kid who really likes Aladdin.
That's true. Yeah. But even then, I'm still like, is it worth it? I mean, everything's just straight banging here. The story, banger. The music, banger. The voice cast, banger. Where are you thinking we should rank it?
I feel like this one's pretty good for ARS. Like, I don't think I even have any like story related complaints or anything like that. Like, I think it's pretty solid all around.
I think the story is simple, but it flows.
Yeah.
You know, like, here's the thing with me. I don't think animated stories need to be in fact, I beg them to not be overly complicated. Leave that to the live action movies.
I would even argue that comparatively to other children's media, Lion King's not that simple of a story.
It's not.
Like,
it has a lot of themes. There's a lot of underground themes there, but I feel like it's
it flows in a way where it seems simple.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, it is kind of simply written, but I feel like there's not very many stories that handle, like, backstabbing someone and murdering them or whatever to take their place as the monarch or something. You really don't see that in kids' media very often.
That's because it's Hamlet. It's Shakespeare.
Yeah, of course. That aspect came.
So, to me, this also goes into the pocket of children's movies you can show to your kids to talk about grief, to learn about grief. And it just kind of goes and stands to, this is the angle of grief of continue to live despite the fact they are gone. This is that angle of grief. It kind of stands with Land Before Time of go and continue to live despite that grief, you know? Go and find your purpose. You know, you are greater than this. Whereas, I'm going to talk about Hamlet again. Hamlet, his purpose becomes again his father. And so then, without another purpose, I'm not going to spoil Hamlet. Hamlet is technically doomed. Because after he's fulfilled his revenge, what else is there for him? Whereas with Lion King, they take the angle and they say, your purpose is to go be king.
Yeah. Like,
I will help you. I will be here for you. Do not forget what I have taught you.
like, him getting rid of Scar was not the goal, but was the means to the goal of taking the responsibility of king.
And I like that. I like that he explicitly says, I am not here to kill you. Go, leave. I don't want to see your ugly mug again. Get out of here, is basically what Simba says. So, yeah, I really like the themes of grief. But it is that he lives in you. And he's watching over everything you see. You know, it's those things. So if you're dealing with that right now and you're grieving, I want you to go listen to He Lives in You from the soundtrack from the musical and just sob like a baby. Anyway, I definitely think this is an S tier movie. It's definitely not my favorite of the Disney canon, but if you throw this on, I will sit and I will watch and I will definitely have one of the best times.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, like, it's something I'd recommend for everyone.
I think there's something in here for everyone. And I think that's what makes it such a great film.
It's the circle of life. I forgot the next one. And it rules us all through despair and hope. I don't know how that part of the song goes. Now, you need to sing for us.
No.
Hagar.
If this gets to 2 million likes,
2 million?
I'll sing.
How about hit us up with 20 likes?
1,000.
20.
1,000. 200. If this hits 200 likes, I will sing.
That razzle-frazzling raccoon.
Okay. Thank you so much for liking, commenting, and subscribing. And thank you for showing love. I really do have a passion for this. And think in your head or put it in the comments what you want our next series to be after Dawn Bluth finishes. We're kind of near in the middle point, kind of near the end of our
middle of Dawn Bluth? Dang.
Yeah. So let us know.
Done with Dawn Bluth before we even leave the 90s?
No. Actually, we have a while to go because their last movie isn't until 2001.
Oh, okay.
But put in the comments. Let us know what we should do after Dawn Bluth.
And remember, always be responsible and take care of the important things that need to be done and to leave the sad things in the past and move on.
Continue to live your life and live it well because they live in you and they're with you always. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.